Africa needs to be able to expand its own capacity to fund its startups. We don't have a venture capital orientation in our markets across Africa. I was looking at data for a particular year some time ago when I did some work in that space. And for one particular year, the startup funding that India received was more than what the entire Africa received for that year. In fact, I think it was about 4 or 5 times what the entire Africa received.
This is Souq Business Landscape.
Startups across Africa raised $174 million in January 2026 through deals of $100,000 and above, including equity, debt, and grant, excluding exit, despite a sharp drop in deal count. The data points to cautious investors' activity at the start of the year. The figures were disclosed by Africa, the big deal, a platform tracking the continent's startups ecosystem. Now, it said funding fell well below January 2025, $276 million, and under the prior 12-month monthly average of $263 million, reflecting tighter conditions. However, January 2026 funding exceeded January 2023's $106 million and January 2024's $85 million total. Analysts say fewer, larger tickets are shaping the market as investors prioritize resilience, revenue traction, and clear paths to profitability, while founders adapt by extending runways, trimming costs, and pursuing strategic debt and grant financing. Now, deal activity slowed markedly, but the capital concentration suggests selective confidence in improving sectors like fintech, climate solutions, logistics, and health technology across Africa region. Coming to you, Bola Olojede, this is quite interesting. Which sectors do you think still attract, capital, fintech, climate, or logistics? What's your thought on this?
All of the sectors attract funding as it were, as long as you're providing a solution that is scalable. The startup funds will come for you, or you go for them and they will respond. For me, one of the problems we need to solve in that place is that most of the startup funds are foreign. Africa needs to be able to expand its own capacity to fund its startups. We don't have a venture capital orientation in our markets across Africa. I was looking at data for a particular year some time ago when I did some work in that space. And for one particular year, the startup funding that India received was more than what the entire Africa received for that year. In fact, I think it was about 4 or 5 times what the entire Africa received. That is, you see, the way fund allocation goes, it measures a lot of things. I was listening to a report yesterday, a couple of days ago, where someone was saying, look, the capacity of Amsterdam to consume is bigger. Amsterdam probably has about 1 million people living there. That their capacity to consume is bigger than the capacity of one West African country, an entire country, to consume. And that country has probably about 40 million people living there. When you have those kind of situations in which 1 million people have better capacity than 40 million people, where will the investor go to? He will go to that easier place where if I can get only how many thousand people, I will be able to make more money than coming to this place where there is 40 million people who lack the capacity to consume. However, Africa represents a huge potential. Nobody is kind enough to want to help us develop those financials on their front from the outside. So we must by ourselves begin to expand our capacity to fund our own startup, realize that these startups are eventually very critical to generating employment and revving up the growth and development of Africa. So let's put together more funds. Let government look into that space. There are certain proposals that that have been bounced around, which government needs to take a close look at. We need more of our own funds, African funds, to drive African startups.
All right, thank you very much, Agbalan Olojede. We have really run out of time. We can't borrow time, but thank you very much for your thoughts on Souq Business Landscape this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right,
Yes.
Swift, any final thoughts about this? I know you're always into startups and all that. What do you think about? He said that we should even look into Nigerians raising capitals for startups,
Yes.
instead of looking outward.
Yes, that happens a lot. There are a lot of private hubs. For example, in Lekki, in Yaba, we have a couple of what do you call them again? Development hubs, technology hubs that are privately funded. Of course, some of these privately funded hubs too, they get some funding, but it started from individuals sitting down to say, okay, let's create a place that is conducive for young people to sit around. We saw some diaspora movements where they say, okay, we want to bring in phones, we want to bring in certain machineries to help. Like you always say, the government cannot do everything. We are looking at banks. We've seen a lot of banks who also support privately funded hubs, the Tony Elumelu Foundations, all these people, they know the importance of ideas, individual ideas being given some kind of financial boost, because ideas without money is just a piece of paper that can't go anywhere. We always, the role the government needs to play is have an enabling environment. Once there's an enabling environment and there's a bit of support, individuals will put in money and it will work. And then for the young people that are involved, or the people that are involved, please don't take loans and not do anything with it. Don't get grants and not do anything with it. Don't go and throw parties and buy cars. Ensure you do something with it. Yes.
Don't take loans and throw parties. Don't take grants and do nothing. On this note, this is where we would round off Souq Business Landscape. From digital payments to elections, from reserves to retirement, the thread is the same. Institution must work for people. Will regulation protect consumers without stifling innovation? Will resources create factories instead of fortunes abroad? Those answers will shape Nigeria's economy long after the headlines fade. Thank you for watching Souq Business Landscape, where policies meet prosperity. I am Olumide Shokoya. Stay informed and keep doing business smarter.
All right, be you, be happy, be proud, and be Nigeria. Have a very beautiful day. I'm Swift Aderito. Bye.